So first thing we're gonna do is the Bulgarian split squat. So what I'm gonna have Mrs. Jones do, first and foremost, is make sure her right leg, if she's gonna start with that, is gonna be a little bit farther forward. We've gotta make sure it's at 90 degrees, so if you're gonna have a seat. If she sticks out her right leg and locks it in place, now she's gonna stand up. She's gonna know exactly where 90 degrees is. So her other leg is gonna come on the back of this box. And notice where I'm standing, she's gonna have my shoulder for balance in case she is about to lose it. We don't want her to let her use balance as the reason she quits early. Now, what I'm gonna have her do now is have her come down as low as you can, get a nice stretch in that back leg, and then we're gonna make sure this knee doesn't pass point from heart to toe. And we're also gonna make sure that heel stays on the ground the whole time. And then I'm gonna be the one to count to 4 seconds it's gonna take. Keep her hands off the leg so they don't cheat that too. If they do that, that's cheating. And then I'm gonna have my hand to prevent her from standing up all the way, about 3/4 of the way. So go ahead and stand up for me. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Back down slow as well. And then once we get to the bottom, have them pause for a second to get a good stretch again. And come back up. 1, 2, 3, 4. One more for me, and then we'll demonstrate what we do after that. And 1, 2, 3, 4. Come back down and pause at the bottom. Now let's say they can't give you any more reps. We're gonna try and push them a little bit more. We're gonna do what we call a partial rep. So today I'm gonna have you put your hand on my shoulder, and I'm gonna have you come up just about halfway for me, a little bit quicker, back down. Keep going for me, keep pushing past it. Keep going, keep going. Go until they hit failure, and then we're gonna try and force them to do a couple more. Go ahead and relax. At this point, they should be feeling like that, 100%. We'll do the other leg, and then what we're gonna do from there is a box pistol squat. So if you want to go ahead and sit down for it. For the box pistol squat, we're going to be there for balance. So typically what you're going to do is you're going to have your arm out here. But keep in mind, make sure you're careful where their leg's going to be. So if you want to start with your right leg, perfect. I'm sorry, right leg down. That way I don't get hands right here. They're going to come up, pull, and then they're going to come down as slow as you can. Don't let them bounce off the bottom. Really go as slow as they can. Come back up. Keep that heel down for me. Keep that leg a little higher up for me. Going down as slow as you can. Good. Keep going for me. Now, if they're in good shape and they can do it on their own, this is how we're going to challenge it. But if they're not, we're there to spot them just the way I showed you right now. Fantastic. Go ahead and relax. We're going to typically do about 6 to 8 of those. And if they're in really good shape, we can lower the platform and make it a little bit harder as well. The next exercise is going to be the box from the hip. Glute bridge from the box. And if they're in good shape, you can actually do this on a rower instead, but just for simplicity's sake right now. Go ahead and big thing here is not only do we want to make sure we're low, we're standing over them, but we're going to have is today put one hand or one leg up in the air. Hands are going to be to your sides. Okay, let's actually have them facing downwards. Cool. And then from here, watch the foot real quick. We're going to actually have the toes pointed towards them. They're going to have a temptation to try and slide their foot forward. We're going to have to make sure they really keep that in. That's what's engaging the hamstring. And then to keep it from turning into a yoga pose and taking the pressure off, we need to keep their chest in, up in. There we go. Now you're going to come up slowly for me. High as you can, high as you can. Keep those toes in. There we go. Let's come down a little more chest in. There we go. Back down slow. And they're not going to rest at the bottom. Right there. Cool. We're not going to lock out either. Really keep that chest tucked in while we do it. Good. Let's go a little bit more upwards instead of forward. There we go. There we go. 2 more for me. 1 more. And we're going to have them pause right here. Cool. Keep the toes pointed in. Once again, we can do this on a rower if this looks a little too easy, like for Drea right now. You literally just pull it in with the rower. Go ahead and relax. All right. Next thing, we're going to do into a plank superset with the glute kickback. And then what you'll notice here is make sure their hips don't go too high up. It's going to make it significantly easier on them. So you need to actually put her hips just a tiny bit lower, just barely. There we go. A little bit higher. Perfect. Make sure it's at 90 degrees. And then what we're going to do here is get that hamstring and glute activated at the same time with their transverse core, because they're going to have to balance. So Mrs. J is going to lift this leg just to my hand. There we go. Notice how we got the leg locked out and we got the toes pointed inwards. There we go. And just a little bit higher. She should feel that in her glutes at the same time. Keep holding that position. The other thing that they're going to try and do to cheat this is notice her hands. Let's get them facing towards the ceiling, palms up. That's gonna make a huge difference in her core activation as well. And now from here, we're gonna have Mrs. J lightly touch the ground, that leg walk in, right back up to the hand. Good, we're gonna do 4 more just like that. Looking perfect, trying to higher this time, really engage. Cool, get those toes pointed in. They're gonna really try to bend their leg where their knee is, so you really have to focus in right here too. Go ahead and relax. Last exercise is the Bosu Beetle. Up and down, right. You want to take a break for a second? All right, let's hop back in.
It's fun to watch.
Big thing right here is we're gonna have to really make sure they don't cheat this, but this is an incredible way to work the entire core. Go ahead. So legs are gonna be at 90 degrees, and we're gonna get our toes pointed towards her. Perfect. We're gonna go knees out a little bit more here, and then from here, once again, not standing over here, down on a knee. Let's go hands out a little bit more. There we go. And then knees just a tiny bit forward, just a tiny bit forward. Now, from here, I'm gonna have her crunch to the ceiling just lightly with her chest. Get that chest a little bit higher for us. Let's get the legs down, legs down, legs down. And holding that position. Now, keep holding. If they're in good shape from here, I'll have them keep their legs where they are, but have her do 5 crunches to the ceiling with her chest. So bring that chest to the ceiling. 1. Cool, keep going. 2. You got this. Keep those legs stable, right up to the top. 3. You got 2 more. Make sure she's breathing. 1 more. This is your reminder to breathe. And hold right here, hold right here. If you really want to mess with them, from here you could say, whatever you do, Mrs. J, don't fall. Let's get her legs a little higher. And you're just going to lightly bump them. That's going to force one side of the core to work significantly more. And that's all she wrote. Thank you, Dre. You're good, man.